Tarkov, at the end of the day, is a numbers game for a lot of people, myself included. How much money you have, what things cost, is it worth to upgrade your armor or weapon? We ask ourselves these questions a lot during our time in the game, and this is only magnified whenever the game wipes and the rubles we spend matter more. But it's not just about making a weapon good and cheap at the same time. Sometimes it's about building something that can be iterated upon raid after raid, and slowly, through some careful planning and money managing, can be built into an extremely powerful weapon only after a few raids. The idea of it reinvesting back into your own kit has been talked about before. In fact, shout out to Deadly Slob because he has several fantastic videos about this concept. But today I wanted to talk about it once more, how my thought process is when I'm able to survive multiple raids and make some money in the process. And just overall, what some of your buying habits should be when you go about trying to survive in Tarkov on a budget. Initial weapon cost is obviously going to be a major contributing factor when looking for a weapon to choose from, and even after that, there are other factors that will influence the price of some of these weapons. Time of day, how far we are into the wipe, etc. But one weapon, after all these years, has stayed tried and true in terms of its price, effectiveness, and ability to be reinvested back into making a deadly weapon, the ADAR. I recently made a couple shorts about this weapon because I still think it's slept on. The ADAR can be bought off the flea for anywhere from 20 to 30,000 rubles. But the durability's half. Why would I want that, you might ask? Well, what you can do is that Skier sells the ADAR lower receiver at level 1 for only 7,000 more rubles, meaning once you buy the gun, you swap all the parts onto that new lower receiver and the gun now has 100 durability and ready to be used. After getting the gun, the only part I add at the start of it is the compact prism scope from Skier level 2. Obviously, optical attachments are very subjective, so if you have something else you prefer to use, feel free to swap it for whatever that is. But again, we're trying to work on a budget, which is why this scope is my go-to. And a lot of people are not really a fan of it because the reticle is rather bulky and busy, but honestly, I got used to it after a while. I've come to really like it. Another alternative that I think will be very useful this wipe is the AUG A1. Maybe this is just me, but I see this weapon as becoming fairly common out in Tarkov for its sheer simplicity and ease of use. At Peacekeeper level 2 or around 50k on the flea market, the built-in scope means you don't need to put any parts on the gun, even if the scope is only a 1.5 times magnification. Once you level up a little bit more, you can actually swap out the top rail of the A1 for the more modular A3 version and put whatever scope you like on top, which makes it really, really effective. But again, you need to get Peacekeeper level 3, which is level 23, so it's going to take a little bit of time, but hey, at least you can do that. Regardless of your choice of weapon, now we have that, we have to choose our armor, and that can be something that you have laying around, or you can reliably purchase, which if you have Ragman level 2, which only takes level 17, there's honestly only one option, the 6B3TM, also known as the Rat Rig. There is honestly a conversation to be had about the existence of this armor and how it almost trivializes at least half of the other level 4 options in the game and how useless they are. Now, because it is early game, it sells out very quickly, and while there are other level 4 options that Ragman has, to be blunt, they suck and are way too pricey for what they do. So if you don't mind rocking a level 3 armor, the 6B23 has always become my alternate choice to pair with the ADAR, because usually on a good day, these sell on the flea from anywhere to 30 to 50k. On top of that, materials armor's steel, meaning it repairs beautifully even if it does get destroyed rather quickly in raid. Helmets, this is kind of an easy one. Use the SSH helmet. It's cheap at 21,000 rubles. You have access to it the moment you open the game. Level 3 protection, high ricochet chance. Obviously, if you find something better, like a striker or TC helmet, you can just insurance fraud that for whatever you're wearing. But again, like the Rat Rig, there's honestly an argument to be had that the SSH isn't one of the best helmets in the game. And just the fact that you can buy it, again, the moment you open the game, begs the question of, is it too powerful? But hey, it's there. Use it. If you don't have the ammo, if you don't have the money for it, just run no helmet and just pray to God you don't get head-eyed. Now, it's one thing to be able to build a kit that may not be super expensive, but it's another thing to know what you should invest in to make your kit better should you manage to go on a survival streak. A lot of people will, say different things in this regard, but for me, the first thing I always buy immediately if possible is a suppressor, and it's almost non-negotiable for someone who plays mainly solo in Tarkov. It just helps with concealment and makes you moving across the map a little tougher to pinpoint. In terms of which ones you should pick, With single-shot weapons like the 8R or the SAG AK, it doesn't really matter, just find one that's cheap and go with that. Ergo, recoil, and these other stats matter less because you have much more control over how the weapon's going to handle when you shoot. After that, ammo is always a safe bet, whether that's just re-upping on ammo so you have more in reserve at the ready, or going from something like 5.6A1 to 5.5A1 means you have a higher chance of killing anything that's put in front of you, potentially yielding an even larger survival streak. After that, if your armor's busted, consider re-upping on that to something like an MMAC or a level 5 if you have barter for that. You'll most likely have found something in your raids and swapped already, but just something else to consider when reinvesting back into your own kit. At the end of the day, the longer you survive in Tarkov, the more money you hang onto, and the overall better time you will have. I mean, it's kinda Captain Obvious, but I think it's important to try and exhibit good spending habits in the game, and knowing what you should buy and for what price will help you in the long run. The whole point of this idea of reinvestment is to spend as little of your own money as possible and to use items you find in raid to serve as your surrogate spending money. This way, you tap into your own funds as little as possible, so when you do inevitably die, it doesn't hurt as much because you went on a 3, 4, 5+ raid streak and made a cool gun and kit without going overboard on spending. This is all just one of the many ways to play Tarkov. It's not the only way, but for myself, I've really enjoyed starting from a simple kit and being able to build up over time to something much more lethal and effective. It feels much more rewarding and doesn't hurt nearly as much when death finally does strike. If you have other ways of playing Tarkov that you enjoy, be sure to sound off in the comments if this is just one of the ways that you maybe interact with it, and if you enjoy the video, consider subscribing for more videos about kits in Tarkov and how they can be built smarter and not harder. I hope to see you in future ones.